Geek Happy Network.
My name is Muthoni. I'm mostly known as Noni by my family and friends. I'm 25 years old and I live in Vancouver, out here in Canada, and I'm humbled and privileged for the life that I've had and just the people that have surrounded me, whether it's been good or bad experiences. I've grown so much as a person. This year has been a very tough year for me, but in all its toughness, it's also been one of the best years for me because with the people I've surrounded myself with, they have continued to uplift me, they've continued to encourage me, they've allowed me to just see the good in everything, and that's where I'm at.
Or most of the people I've interviewed so far, our relationship began in St. Mary's.
Yes.
And St. Mary's is the school I pretty much grew up in from when I was 6 years old all the way till I was 18. And so that school, like I've mentioned before, has co-ed in the IB program, and that's where we finally met.
Yeah.
But IB we didn't really have much of a relationship.
I think I was annoying. I remember I would walk down the hallway and you'd see me, and I'll never forget this day. You had a book and you looked up and you saw me and you literally ran back into the library.
Are you sure I was running away from you? Or?
Probably, because I was the loud... you guys are so focused with IB2.
True. You are definitely one of the loudest. One of the louder people in school. I think at the time I just didn't understand it. I didn't hate you or anything.
I know, it's okay. It's all love. I was just playing. But for sure, I remember we did have few conversations, random ones on how they went back in IB, and I was only there for 4 months.
True.
Ironically, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So explain that, because I know we talk about that a lot. Where you only came for. So the IB program, anyway, for any girl who comes to St. Mary's, it's a short experience, just 2 years. For you, it was even shorter. It was 4 months.
Yeah.
But somehow your St. Mary's friends seem to be very important to you, just like they are to me. So, why?
I was speaking to my uncle yesterday or the day before, and he told me they call it, they were talking about how, I've been away for a month and they feel like, it's different without me, and it's they called it the Muthoni madness. And nobody can understand the Muthoni madness unless they want to. And I think when I moved to IB or when I went to St. Mary's, there was a certain Muthoni madness I had that people understood, if that makes sense. I was able to, I felt like I was accepted. I've always struggled with a low self-esteem and just being able to appreciate myself and love myself.
I wouldn't be able to tell.
And really,
I can't. It's hard to tell.
I think that's why I was so bubbly, because it's maybe they'll, I don't know, maybe my bubbleness will allow everyone to just kind of, be sucked in by just that. Initially, it used to be negative attention, but then I realized that's who I am, really. That's who I enjoy being. I enjoy making people happy. I enjoy being happy. Yeah. I think I had such an awkward experience in Loreto. That was my high school. And
which was St. Mary's sister
school. Yeah. So pretty much, there was drama a lot, and I always found myself crying and being depressed, for just petty things. And when I came to Saints, it was just, everyone was real. Everyone was themselves. It was not a necessarily education-oriented school. So we're never that serious with books. And I don't know, for whatever reason, people just stuck around.
So that's pretty much where our relationship began and everything. But I'm glad you kind of mentioned where you were before then. But I want to go even further back. In terms of this person who you say is, you said struggles with low self-esteem and stuff like that. Do you mind giving us an idea of how you grew up, where you were born, siblings, family life, etc.?
Oh, okay. So I was born in Nairobi, Nairobi Hospital. If you must go
same,
extra,
same,
Look at that. Gang. So 92 November.
Oh wow, same.
Babies,
Yeah, we're probably in the hospital same time.
Yeah, I was 10th or 18th.
18th,
right?
yeah.
So maybe
in
literally
the
same hospital,
that's
probably
crazy.
within the same period
wow,
of time.
that's
26
insane.
years ago.
Yeah, damn. Yeah, that's deep. That's so deep. Okay.
Well, there we go. So basically, so my parents separated when I was 4, so that was very hard.
Did you know what that was at that time?
At that point, as a kid, surprisingly, you're able to tell certain things. There was never a connection between my parents, in terms of love.
You could tell that.
I could tell,
when
yeah.
You were that,
yeah, there was so many fights. You could tell something was not right. You know what I mean? So unfortunately, my parents parted ways, and I ended up living with my dad. And my dad immediately moved to Mombasa. So I moved to Mombasa when I think I was back. So when I was 5, they separated, and then when I was 9, we moved to Mombasa.
Okay. And Mombasa, for anyone who's not from Kenya, is a coastal city. It's about an 8-hour drive from Nairobi, the capital.
So it's more of the beaches and good weather, humid weather. So I lived there, and I went to school in Nyali primary school in Nyali. That's one of a neighborhood in Mombasa. It was fun, it was interesting. And then one thing I really did not want was the Swahili accent, ile ya kuvuta,
really?
The pulling one.
You didn't like it?
I didn't like it.
Oh wow.
I found it annoying, but surprisingly now I want it.
Yeah, it's
I crave it.
Yeah.
I even try and
it's one of those accents.
It's one of those accents.
Yeah.
So then my brother and I, with my dad, and then finally
older brother.
Sorry, yes. So I have a younger brother. His name is Wanyeke, whom I love so much. Wow, I would probably never have said that 4 years ago, but So he's younger than me. His name is Wanyeke. He's 23 now. And he is doing very well. He's also he goes to school in Ottawa. But so we both so Mombasa, we grew up in Mombasa, and then when I was 13, so my parents had an agreement that we would now move to Nairobi with my mom and live with her and go to high school there. And that's how I moved back to Nairobi after being in...
What did you think about moving from Nairobi to Mombasa when you were a child?
I was young and I was very excited because, Mombasa was that place. Mombasa. And we're so privileged to have lived at a beach by the beach. So my dad had a beach house, and every morning. And actually, that's where I learned how to swim. So every so often we would go, almost every weekend, my dad and I and my brother would go to the beach, and he would teach us how to swim. And I actually learned how to swim in the ocean first before actually the pool. And it was very exciting. So I think that for me was just the highlights childhood. Highlights of Mombasa. But surprisingly, I never liked the beach after that. When you had so much about too much of something. But moving from Nairobi to Mombasa the first time was super exciting because Mombasa has always been the go-to place for Kenyans. Every Christmas, every Easter, just being away from the hustle and bustle. And so I think that's why it was exciting, and I was a kid and it's a new place. And so moved to Nairobi, and then when we immediately moved to Nairobi, my mom moved to Rwanda and we moved with her. Okay. So for a year, we lived in Rwanda, in Kigali. Okay. And
I never knew that part.
Oh yeah, and that was actually one of the best. A highlight of my high school.
That was how old?
I was 13.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and I think I say this on all seriousness. if I was to choose a country to live in after Kenya, it would be Rwanda.
Oh, yeah?
It would be Rwanda.
Wow.
It's a very beautiful country.
I've heard it's super clean and organized and everything.
So they have this thing where every Saturday, first Saturday of the month, everyone, including the president, leave their houses and sweep the streets of Rwanda.
Wow, are you serious?
Yeah, it's crazy. The land of hills. It's beautiful. It's clean. It's like a Mombasa feel, very slow, but people are very like, you know, progressive. Yes, that's the word. Yeah.
That's interesting. And so then you stayed there for 1 year.
I stayed there for a year. So give or take, maybe like.
Were you making friends in all these places as you were moving along?
Yes, in of course Mombasa. Yes, a lot of friends.
Yeah.
I still speak to a few, but let's say maybe 5 or 4. But in Rwanda, maybe 1, and she was actually called Muthoni, which is like Muthoni.
Oh, yeah.
In Kenya, and Muthoni means the loved one.
Oh, okay.
And so like now people who couldn't say Muthoni would call me
Muthoni.
And and so I made a friend called Muthoni. She was a neighbor, very nice little girl. So fast forward, moved back to Nairobi. Now went to LCVR, Loreto Convent, for 4 years. And
oh, my bad, you went to LCVR, not Msongari,
but the Loretos are still sisters to St. Mary's.
Oh, okay, okay.
So all of them still are.
Okay,
so
okay.
I knew you meant Msongari.
Yeah.
But I still
Okay.
So Loretos are still
the whole
group.
Makes sense.
So so and
question, so like as you're moving around and stuff, in terms of your relationship with your parents or what their relationship is at the time, like how is that affecting you on a personal level?
Right. So basically, my mom and I never had a very good relationship, even from when I moved to Nairobi initially, because my dad is a very free spirit. He cares, but he's just like you can do really whatever you want as long as it's with you know what's good for you and you know what's right. But my mom is very by the book, very old school. Kind of affected us differently because you can imagine having one set of discipline, and then you come and now you're being beaten by everything she sees in sight. For the smallest issues, and that became now a problem because even like if you didn't wash the pan right, she would beat you. If you came home 5 minutes after curfew, she would beat you, and our punishments were super extreme. Like I remember there was a time I was home. She caught me watching a movie on a school night, and she made me write down on 100 pages why I was watching the movie. Like this, so I remember those are the things like, and I would be having an exam the next day, so you're up all night writing, and she's like, I don't want you to repeat, I don't want you to photocopy, I want you to actually write it down. So those are the and she was never she never really showed her emotion. Like it would be very hard to hear my mom say I love you, as opposed to my dad, who was very lovey-dovey, and and my mom seemed to have a problem with that. So we never really had a good relationship, and they didn't even have a good relationship between themselves. So that also affected us because we never really saw love between our parents, and we were so confused. Did you think like for a moment? I mean, as a kid, maybe I don't know. You said like you kind of had an intuition, but did you think it was okay or normal? Yes.
Like, you thought it was normal? I
thought it was normal. Okay. Initially, that's actually a good question. I thought it was abnormal. Yeah. Because I was surrounded with people whose parents still lived together, and you have people asking you, where's your mom? Yeah. And then I was living with my dad, so a lot of people had questions about that. And so it's just like, because I remember when my parents separated, my mom left. And for a year, we thought my mom had passed away because my dad never talked about her. We didn't even know what was going on. Yeah. There were a lot of fights, and then one day she was gone. Right? So we assumed the worst. And I had a really, really good friend, and we still talk till this day. And I remember telling her my mom is dead. And she went telling her mom, because her mom knew my parents. And her mom came in that evening from school, or the next day, and was just like, oh no, your mom is not dead. She's okay. Like, I need you to understand that she's finding herself, and that time you're so confused, like you're in class 1,
why isn't she
why hasn't she reached out? That's when my resentment started, because now when I moved to Nairobi and with my mom, and we're seeing she's doing well, And now is when she wants us. So we thought at 14, we were very confused, You're just like, so where were you the past 7 years, And that for us was like the hardest for me personally. So even that relationship with my mom, her disciplining us on a different level and like super rude. And my mom was very cold, like I understand why now at my age, because she was trying to be the mom and the dad in the house now that we lived with her, trying to make ends meet at the same time, be there for us, provide the food, and now having kids with her and having to take care of them, she required to be a certain way.
If that was the case when she had you guys, what about when she had your dad's help? What was it at that time?
Because now at that point, like, she was running her own business.
Oh, okay.
She had a clothing company, so she would make she actually used to supply Kenya Airways with the little gift things where you put the toothbrush, for the first class days.
Okay.
So she was the one who would make the bags for them, and it was really good and it was growing. But when they separated, the business fell apart, so she had to literally start from scratch. And this is when I learned about this a few years ago. So she was telling us that she had nothing. She left my dad's house with a t-shirt and jeans, and for the year that she was gone, she was teaching herself marketing, because someone had told her that marketing is a thing. So she would go to the American Embassy Library every day for a year. And then she started her own... No, she worked for Farmer's Choice for a year after that.
Farmer's Choice is like a meat supply company? Back in Kenya. And so she then... what happened? Yeah, so basically she now built herself from scratch, would read books on marketing, got experience, then started her company. And that's when now she was able to build her empire from that. So when we moved to her... That's when we started seeing her success. We never saw the behind the scenes. And I think even that was a struggle, because she was like, we've worked so hard. I've worked so hard to be here. You guys don't see that. And we're like, you weren't there for us. She would visit us in Mombasa, but still, you never took us. Because usually, naturally, the mothers would take the children. But in our case, my dad took us. And to be honest, my dad was he was there for us 100%. My love for cooking came from my dad. Because every morning, I remember he would make us breakfast and he would pack our lunch. He would never have any house helps prepare the meals. He would always do it himself and teach us how to do it, because he'd be like, you have to be self-sufficient, He was that guy. And so I think just the fact that sometimes I required a certain love and attention from my mom that I missed when I was young. I craved it when I moved with her, and she never gave that to me. So, or maybe she did and I never saw it. But, and so that's when I started feeling low about myself. And I remember I used to have short hair in high school, and I used to get bullied a lot by that. And I mean, it was hard because, it's not a big deal. Hair is hair. But then... Hey, when you're a kid...
You're a kid and everyone's calling you like a bulldog, because I had these chubby cheeks. And I was I was also very outgoing and loud. So, they'll be like, bulldog, And it was hard for me. And a lot of the girls would get to go out and have fun, go out to the clubs. And my mom... It was not even a conversation, and I would walk to school every day and walk back to school back and forth every day for 4 years.
How far did you live from school?
It was a 45-minute walk.
45-minute walk. It's not impossible, but it's still
it's crazy.
It's still crazy.
Yeah, it's honestly crazy, and I can tell you, it was and then I used to get ridiculed a lot again, because I'm the only one walking home.
There's that too.
So people would see me on the roads, and I went through a lot of so you go through that in school, and then you go home and you have your mom in your face about certain things. So I struggled a lot with just my identity, with loving myself, and because I never seemed to have any sense of love, I guess that's the word. And so that's where my low self-esteem kind of built up from. And also just and my parents are not together, so and then my mom was not very okay with us speaking to my dad for whatever her reasons were, and it was hard to just be okay, I've known he raised us, he was there for us when you weren't there technically, and I don't know the behind the scenes, but like you can't like make us
just pull us away.
pull us away from what we know. So again, that was a lot of a struggle too.
Yeah.
So even my relationship with my brother too wasn't as great. So my brother struggled with like anger and violence kind of thing. So he was always angry. He was always like bitter, very rude. Extremely rude Wanyeke. But if you ever hear this, but I still love you. But yeah, he was extremely rude, and so we both had our own. So I would I would seek negative attention. So I'd always find myself in bad company. Even in high school, I never really could say that. Yeah, I was always in bad company, and then my brother was always like fighting and never talking to anyone. So we were both extreme, like, Yeah,
that's how cycles begin.
Yeah,
that's like one thing I've been talking to some of my family members a lot about. Is just like, because I've been fortunate enough where my parents didn't trigger a lot of whatever I've struggled with in life. It didn't come, some of it comes from them, but it's not extreme. But it's like having seen other examples of people in my family where it's like, it starts with the parents not having a good relationship. Then it's like you start seeing the kids showing certain things, and then you just see how like cycles begin, and then you get confused about where it even starts down the line, because it's like it becomes generations of bad decisions and stuff. Yeah.
So, but luckily we had a lot of like breakthroughs. When I was 19, I think this is when now everything became, how you hit rock bottom, that you have to look up to see the bottom. That's how bad it became for me, like you said, spiraling. So I got engaged to someone at 19. At that point, I had just finished college in hospitality, and I was working at a hotel in Nairobi and training as a chef. And I met this guy, and he was abusive. And for me, I didn't know the difference between abuse and I didn't know the good and bad.
Your lines were blurry.
Yeah, exactly. Because from home, I'm just coming home from fights, and my dad was also violent, because that was one of the reasons why my parents separated. Okay. So there was a lot of that. I was blurred, like literally.
You don't know where love starts and stops.
Where it stops. Yeah. And so unfortunately, I succumbed to it. So he was violent, and I didn't know that was bad for me. And that time, my mom and I had fought too much, and I was always either running away or she would kick me out, and so I was never home. So she really didn't even know where I was. And at that point, I was like, you know what? I can do this on my own. And I think that's even where my strength came from. Mostly was just being able to know that I can do things on my own. Yeah. So I, met up with this guy, and I moved in with him, and he proposed, but it was more like he just wanted. He was like very controlling, and
how was he older?
Yes, he was 29.
Oh, yeah,
so we're 10 years apart.
Okay.
So I was 19 then. And so he proposed, and it was like, oh my gosh, somebody finally wants me, and somebody loves me and wants the best for me. It was a day before my birthday. Oh. And then the next day, we go out, celebrate. It was my birthday. So he proposed on the 9th, and then the 10th, we go out for like a dinner thing. And it was just like, it was very simple. So I remember I was talking to someone, and someone, and we're just talking to someone, just someone random. And I say, it's my birthday, and he just like taps me on the back, like, oh, happy birthday, and my fiance then looks and kind of like goes, you could tell he was getting very, not
like
happy.
Worked up.
Yeah, worked up. So we get to go home, because I was living with him, and he slapped me.
Whoa.
And he was just like, what was that? And I said, what do you mean, what was that? It literally was just, I didn't even know the guy. And just like, how sure am I, And when I was working in the hotel, I would work as a hostess. Sometimes I'd be, taken to the kitchen. So he would also get very worked up when I would talk to men and guests, and
As
I'm just
a
like,
hostess.
yeah, and I'm just like, that's my job.
Yeah.
So he would get very like rude and he would abuse me, with his words verbally, and just emotionally too, call me trash, call me a hoe, those words. And ironically, my mom would call me the same thing when I was in high school, and so it was just like, it was a trend, right? Just kind of kept building.
Crazy.
So finally, he hit me, and I was just like, am I okay? And I didn't react because I'm just like, okay, I've been hit before. I don't think it's a big deal, but I'm just like, is it like, what's going on?
I didn't expect it.
Yeah. So he slapped me, and he was just like, look, I don't appreciate the way you talk to people and you talk to other men. You're sending the wrong message, especially now that you're mine. And he was very, possessive. So I was we were living in like servant's quarter in the compound.
We should probably describe what a servant's quarter is.
So a servant's quarter would be like the basement to a house. Yeah,
sometimes
so like a shed.
Yes, but so back in Kenya, a lot of times houses are built with like a smaller structure either attached to the building or sometimes it's on a separate space but within the same compound of a house.
Yes.
And it's usually for the I don't want to call them servants,
but the house helps or gardeners or people who would work for you.
But we call them servants' quarters.
Yeah.
It sounds like a very colonial name.
It is actually, right? Ironically,
that's pretty much. But we call them SQs now.
SQs, yeah. So I will use that word, SQ. So SQ. And so the next morning, I was so scared, and I was just like, okay, I'm just gonna go tell his mom like what's just happened, because I feel like maybe she'll understand and someone will, maybe make sure that I'm not wrong, So I go tell her what happened. And she was just like, what did you do to my son for him to hit you?
Wow.
Right?
Holy shit.
So I was just like, clearly, I'm the only one here with a problem.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess if his mom is okay with her son hitting me and I'm out here trying to like, I'm struggling, I can't even go back home and, so I went to work and I was so overwhelmed. But my cousin noticed that I was quiet, like she could never get a hold of me, knew I was working at the tribe, came to the tribe, and the moment I saw her, a familiar face, I just cried. I just I blurted out, and it's just like I broke down. And I told her everything, and she literally dragged me to HR. And HR, because he was a manager then, he was like, manager in training for the company, for the hotel. So she was like, look, I'm not gonna say anything, and you're a trainee, and it's going to look bad. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna let you go. She gave me a bit of cash. She's just like, this will be my compensation. I really can't do anything beyond this right now.
Because the relationship is already
wrong.
Yeah.
So we were not supposed to have any. As fast it was like a manager and a trainee. Yeah. He's 29, I'm 19. It just looked very bad.
Very bad, yeah.
And she was just like, look, I will make sure I work through it. Give me time, but I want you to go and just do not come back. Just don't look back. And so I left, and I literally never saw him again that year. And it was very hard for me. Oh my gosh. And then so I remember going back. Also, my cousin now took me to my auntie's house, her mom's house. And her mom is my mom's sister, and my auntie was like, no, we have to go home now. You need your mom needs to know what is going on. And I was graduating that year from college in December. So I remember going for my graduation. And so that day we go to my mom, and my mom cried. She was actually very so
she understood.
She understood because she'd been through the same thing. Yeah. And maybe he hit me once, yes, but it was like there was a lot of abuse verbally.
Before that there
was emotional abuse, and already I was struggling with my own issues. So it was hard, to kind of. For her, she saw it finally. So anyway, I graduated that year, and then the next year she gifted me with therapy. So I went therapy for almost 6 months. But initially, the therapy was for me to get over the guy and get over that whole thing. Yeah. But I wanted us to go for therapy together as a family. Because I was just like...
Because I was going to say, that's one problem.
Yeah, that's one problem, but we need more. So I remember I told my mom, we need to go together. And she's like, no, I'm not the one with the problem. You are.
Wow.
So I literally I dropped out of... So that was, let's say that was in... So 6 months. So June, I had like 3 sessions that I just dropped. I was just like, look.
Wow, because now even the purpose
is gone, right?
Yeah.
When I was going through therapy, we fought even through that whole thing. And I ended up now living, and this is where it gets better, and this is how life just started going up, with the family I lived with in Calgary.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, so now his sister, my uncle's sister, is my mom's very, very good friend. Very good friend.
Okay.
Actually, I met her in Rwanda. So she was one of the ladies that worked with my mom in Rwanda. And so fast forward, I bumped into her because I was living in Ruaka. So it's like uptown, like in a bed sitter alone. A room that your bed becomes your seat, your bed, your kitchen, everything literally. It's just a room.
Yeah.
And so fast forward to that, I bump into my mom's friend, and she's just like, what are you doing on this side? I'm like, no, I live here. She's like, oh, you moved? I'm like, no, just me. She's like, what do you mean? Like, you're 20. What do you mean you're living alone? And I tell her the story. She's like, no, you come live with me. So I ended up living with her. And I was working at a hotel next to her house. So it worked out perfectly. So I just wake up.
Okay.
So she also noticed that this workplace, it was privately owned. It was a boutique hotel, privately owned. And this guy was taking advantage of me. First, because I lived very close to the hotel. And the fact that I didn't have any commitment. So you'd make me work from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. 12-hour shifts. Silly pay. Ridiculous pay. Like, and then, I was living with someone. So it didn't really matter. But then if I was living alone, I couldn't live off that kind of pay. So she told me, I need you to kind of go back to the drawing board. You need to go back to school.
Yeah.
I said, go back to school. Like...
Yeah.
So she was like, I need to go back. I said, I've just graduated. What do you want me to do? She's like, no, my daughter is in Toronto and my son is in Calgary. And I feel like, I think Canada would be a place for you. And I laughed. I'm just like, first and foremost.
It was not even...
That's just like, because initially, because I had a passion for cooking, I was supposed to go to Switzerland to do my... culinary school, but like with my mom and the fights, I was just like, she was not willing to support me that much. And so I tell her, like, auntie, like, I don't think that's even possible. I'm not even talking to my mom right now. Like, I know she's paying for therapy, but like, take me abroad. Like, no, give me a month, I will work through it. So she finally told my mom where I was. Told her, like, I'm living with your daughter is with me. She would come down for dinner, let's talk. And that's how the negotiations started. So she would come for dinner every weekend, so often, and we would talk, and she's like, okay, are you ready to move back home? I said, no. Are you ready to go for therapy? And like, we need to sort things out. My mom was like, no, you're the one with the problem. And so when now my auntie was saying like there was no progress, she was just like, okay, she sat both of us down and she was just like, look, you guys don't even need therapy at this point. You just need to be away from each other. And I cannot keep having your daughter knowing that you're fully well and alive. And you need to, like, telling me you need to learn to just live with your mom is your mom. You just love her for who she is. So I think that just kind of like started something in my mom. And she's like, okay, so what do you want to go to Canada? And I'm like, yes. Do you know where you want to go? And I'm like, no, but I have an idea of the places. So Toronto was like, obviously was the option I knew, right? The only place in Canada.
Yes, Toronto.
At that point. So I applied to UFT and the business program, and I got accepted, but like, I'm just like, that school fees. I was like not ready. Luckily that year, the president of the school I went to was working with my mom on a marketing project for Nairobi University. That's one of our local universities. And so he was like, yeah, I am a president of Cape Breton University in Nova Scotia, and the family I lived with now in the house, the lady, her husband is a geologist. And he was like, you should try geology. And I said, yo, you didn't even see my physics results. Like, I don't even think I could be accepted. He was like, no, you're very intelligent. That family was the first that actually showed me appreciation of myself. Like, I doubted everything about myself, but like, they were always like, no, just trust the process. So I asked the guy, let's randomly, do you guys offer geology? He's like, no, but we offer petroleum engineering, which is similar, and if you want to venture into geology, you could always do that after. And imagine I passed.
Wow.
And so let's say that's September of 2013. By January 2014, 1st of January, I was in Canada.
Wow.
I get to start a whole new slate, just afresh. Don't have to worry about what people think about me, and I don't have to bump into people and have to explain to them what my life. And I was very embarrassed, especially with the whole being engaged to that guy, and I couldn't really tell people about that. And excuse me, for those who finally found out, it was just like judging me, like how could you not know that he was bad for you, you know? And I mean, I could not see it then. Yeah. But I
just want to go through, like, if you can, how you got over that relationship, because that was a big deal. Like, he was abusive in many ways. Like, how did you work through that?
So through counseling, I had I went to Amani counseling center on Bagavi Way. I feel like the counselor there, she was a volunteer. She was like 28, I remember. And she was she understood. First, she knew that the relationship was something bigger than just, you know what I mean? Like, she knew there was something more to it than me just jumping into that. And so she started dwelling on my issues first before the relationship, because she was like, that was a repercussion of what you have gone through as a child and as a young adult, and and everyday struggles, and we need to deal with that. And when we finally kind of like, so she started trying to bring me in closer to, like, your issue with your mom. She's like, would you like your mom to come here? And so now that's when I was just like, I don't know. And that's how I was able to ask my mom. And so I remember going back and telling my counselor that my mom said that I'm the one with the issue and she doesn't need to be here. And I remember her telling me something. She told me, when you're bitter and angry and you don't forgive someone, it's like drinking poison and waiting for the other person to die. And I was just like, yo, right? It's just like, and I've had that before, like so many times, but like, you only hear something
when you're ready.
When I remember you said something like, when you're ready to hear it. And then I was like, you know what, I can be bitter and angry. And she was saying, not just for this guy you were with, but with your mom too, and with anyone else that's hurt you. Do not drink that poison. It's not worth it, and you need to work on yourself. So now the focus is you.
When you finally got at least the chance to get to Canada, what was that experience like? Like, when you first got to Canada, like your first month or few weeks or whatever, what was that like?
Oh my gosh, I was in awe. I was overwhelmed. I was excited.
You liked it?
I loved it. Although I arrived and it was super, like, there was a storm, a snowstorm, and I was in the airport for 18 hours. Yes, thanks. Like, I'm just like, yo. And my mom had given me money, and she told me, you do not buy anything from the airport. So I wasn't hungry because I was so scared, So I remember even calling her on Skype, and I'm like, Mom, can I please buy something? I've been out here for like almost 10 hours plus. Can I please like eat something? So I remember like, so I went to Tim Hortons. This was my funniest experience. Go to Tim Hortons, and a gentleman in front of me orders for a medium double. So I thought it was a meal. So I'm just like, because at home, who would go buy coffee when just you have coffee and tea in your mother's house? Right? So he goes medium double, and obviously I didn't see him take whatever he was taking because I was next. And I said, hi, I'll have a medium double, and she tells me it's like $2. I mean, $1 something.
You're like, oh, and I'm
like,
cheap
that's
here
so
too.
Cheap, right? So I give her like a 20 bill, and she gives me like coins back. I give her back, and I'm just like, here's your tip. She just looked at me. She's like, what? She didn't, initially she was confused. I like, are you sure? And because home coins are nothing. So true. She's like, are you sure? And I said, I mean, thanks. The bill was so cheap. I don't know why my mom was not letting me buy food at the airport. So I get to, she's like, it will be ready for you on this side. She hands, okay, medium double. She plonks it. I'm like, I asked for a meal. She said, no. You said a medium double. I said, sorry, what's that? She's like, a coffee with 2 sugar. I'm just like, sis. First and foremost, that $6 I gave you, give me a sandwich.
Right back.
Give it back to me. So she was like, are you new? I said, yeah. And she was so sweet.
Oh.
She's like, you know what? Actually, that's $6.
Yeah.
I will, whatever you want. So I
yeah.
said, can I have a sandwich and a soup?
Yeah.
And I was just like, I was so disgusted because I'm just like,
It's
what
plastic.
is this?
Yeah.
Like
It's
nothing tastes. That was not
food. Yeah.
It did not taste the same way. I'm not bashing Tim Hortons.
No, I fuck with Timmy's.
Yeah,
I eat Timmy's
all
every
the
now and
time.
again.
I worked for Timmy's. I'm a brand ambassador here, but like
we all know
that was not the same.
Yeah,
that was my expectation.
When you're used to food from Africa in general, I think it's
fresh
like
food, eh?
You're used to real food,
bread.
Like, yeah.
And it was so funny. So anyway, I just ate it. I was just like, okay, whatever. So I went to school and I ended up taking a bus. So I couldn't fly into the airport for the school because of the storm. So I took a bus and I sat next to my roommate that I am living with for the 4 years. And she was super nice. She was like, where are you going? I said, yeah, I'm going to CBU, Cape Breton University. And she's like, oh yeah, me too. And small talk, and then I fall asleep and we get to CBU and she's like, okay, I live on that end. I believe you're a new student, you'll be put in a new residence, so I'll see you soon.
Yeah.
And she just left me there.
Oh.
Right? So I'm in the middle of the snow, and the snow is up until my hip.
Yikes.
And I have 3 suitcases,
Yikes.
a blanket. And my mom said, you do not buy anything. I
Yeah.
will bring it. So I literally went with my whole blankets from home, my duvets, my
Wow.
pillows. So I had like a whole 3 suitcases and duvets, and I'm literally carrying them
What?
still. I swear.
On your head?
On my head. Because now, like, Shelly, how are you going to
Yeah,
carry
there's
this?
nothing. What?
So in the midst of like, it's midnight. The residence manager is not picking up his phone. And I'm nervous.
Yeah.
And so, what happened? So I see a girl just like swimming through the snow. She's like super excited.
Yeah.
She can't even make snow because it's so high. It's so like whatever. So she sees me, she's like, are you okay? And I said, yeah, I'm kind of lost. I don't know where I'm supposed to go. And she like calls me and she's like, no, I have an extra room. I said, you know how at home if someone offers you something, you just doesn't seem
you
right.
always question.
You always question.
Yeah.
She's like, no, please come. I promise. Like, it's okay. So she helps me with my bags. We go to the room. It's like, okay, my room is on the left, yours is on the right. I said, okay, thank you. And the moment she just locked her room, I locked my door. I put my suitcase. And I'm like, I'm protecting myself. So it's 12, I'm jet lagged.
Yeah.
And then I was super tired. So I fell asleep. But I'm up and I'm ready. And it's still 4 in the morning. So I'm so confused. And then I hear her room. She's just like playing music and she's awake. So I open the door slowly and she hears me opening. Then she opens her door. She's like, are you awake? I said, yeah, I can't sleep. She's like, I know it's jet lag. So, I end up going to her room. We talk and I learned she's from Hawaii. She became my first roommate.
Yeah.
And she was only there for like a semester. But fast forward, we ended up moving into now with my roommate then, my new roommate from Nigeria, Louisa, and we moved into a bigger apartment, so we would be more of us, like the 4 of us, the 3 of us, sorry. And I mean, it was a good experience. First, I'm grateful for Roxanne, because that was my friend from Hawaii, and she, I found that one of the things I noticed when I got here was just like you relate with a lot of international students.
Oh yeah, for sure.
For sure,
Yeah.
You have so much to learn about different cultures, about different places. I'd only heard about Hawaii from TV and knowing it's like a luxury, exotic place, but never imagined people actually live
there.
like leave Hawaii to come to Kenya, leave the place and come and pursue something from somewhere else. And I guess that's how people feel when they ask us, like, you left Kenya for all this, and it's just different expectation. But no, I was in awe. I'd always loved traveling, even just like a small road trip, but never really imagined it would be this big.
Yeah.
I never thought I would ever come to Canada for one. Maybe.
And one thing I've seen you do a lot is like travel.
Oh, yes.
And like, could you explain why you have that thing? Because I feel like you travel a lot.
Yeah. So another thing was my mom always traveled a lot. And every time she'd come home, she'd have a very interesting story about a place she'd been. And I think that's when I loved that she had so much to talk about. And my mom never brought gifts. Like, she was just like, she'd bring us like cans of soda from Kenya Airways and like those nuts, the peanuts. That's it. She's like, I'd never spend any money on getting you guys gifts, and you guys have bend down select like thrift shops.
Wow.
So,
Yeah.
but she'd always have stories about a place she'd been and describe them. She's not a picture person, so she would describe them. I mean, I was like, I want to see that. I really want to see that.
Yeah.
And my bro was into like all these taking pictures and stuff. So, he's also really good at drawing. So he would draw something my mom would talk about. Like, he would draw a building and be like, I think this is what mom was talking about. And I would Google, places to talk about. So finally, I was just like, I kept saying, when I grow up, when I'm like my mom's age, I hope I can travel as much as she does. And then I come here. I'm just like, I can actually start traveling now.
Yeah. Was leaving Kenya to come to Canada the first time you ever went abroad?
Abroad, yes.
That was the first time you ever went abroad.
Yeah.
And then from coming to Canada, what was the first trip you ever took?
Outside Canada?
Like, just in general.
Okay.
Like, in terms of traveling.
Toronto.
Toronto was your first,
so
okay.
I landed in Montreal, but Montreal was just an airport. Went to Nova Scotia, and then I went to Toronto. I didn't even go to Halifax, because Halifax is the capital city of Nova Scotia. But I jumped and went to Toronto.
Oh, okay.
I was in Toronto for like a week. Oh my gosh. I was just like, and at that time I'd been in Canada for like 6 months.
Wow,
But
so
I felt
it's
like
all new.
Yeah, I felt like I just landed in Canada. Because now in Sydney, it's a very small town, very little, very few people, like I think 100,000 population, give or take. Just our university, very student-based town. And one Walmart, one mall. Excuse me. So there's really not so much to see. And I remember going to Toronto and I'm just like, oh my god.
Yeah. I'm yet to visit Toronto. I really want to go.
You will love it.
Yeah.
It's just everything in one. And I think, but now you see I've been to so many cities, I'm just like, okay, you've been to one, you've been to all.
Which is your favorite Canadian city?
Vancouver.
Oh yeah.
No, I take that back. Okay, yes, Vancouver. Yes. But Montreal.
Oh yeah.
Oh my god. It's just a mesh of Europe and a lot of history and good vibes and old city and buildings. It's just brownstone. That was my favorite. I loved it. I fell in love. I would not live there, but I would definitely visit it as often as possible.
Why wouldn't you live there?
No, we're not as friendly people. I know a lot of people have heard this and have experienced it. They're not as friendly as, you would find in other places. I'm not out here trying to, trying to get people to talk to me. I mean, it's hard enough that we live away from home.
I'm telling you.
So I can't imagine having to be like, oh, bonjour. And excuse-moi.
Yeah, it's already hard in English.
Right?
Yeah.
In English,
Yeah,
right?
it's already
Thank
tough.
you. So, but Montreal, yes. And Vancouver, yes. And then, so I've been to every province except, the Northwest Territories and Yukon, which I really want to do next year. Now that I'm around here. But I've been to every province in Canada. So that's how
awesome.
I started.
Yeah.
And so.
And so and then the reason you even came study-wise was the whole petroleum engineering thing. How was that transition, your student life? Because that's not what your passion was, but it was kind of your way out. How was your uni life?
It was hard.
Yeah.
I wouldn't lie to you. I mean, trying to start something that I've never really enjoyed.
Yeah.
I did not like physics in high school at all, or anything that required calculations.
Sciences.
Sciences full stop, Yep. It was just why am I doing this to myself? But I think that's when I started learning that I could challenge myself to do anything I put my mind to. And so it didn't stop me from having fun.
Yeah.
One of the things was I did work a lot. I took up 3 jobs.
I remember this time.
Right?
Yeah.
So I was always working, and I'm in school and I'm working in school. But that got me, it got me motivated to want to just finish this degree, prove to myself that I can do this and that anyone can do it. You don't need to have a background. Yes, having a background is important, don't get me wrong, for those who actually are passionate about it, but it was possible to do. And it was hard. There was a lot of nights where I would give up. There was a time I dropped out. And my roommate, I remember threatening me. She's like, I will call Mama Muthoni right now. She's Nigerian. I will call Mama Muthoni and tell her school fees is being wasted.
Why? Do you mind me asking? Was it stuff with your parents and stuff? That's
No, it was just how hard it became. Oh, it was in my second year and the night before chemistry exam, and nothing was just like settling in my mind. I could not read. I was having a panic attack. So the next day, I emailed my professor and told him I wouldn't show up for the exam. And the next day I went to administration. I told them, like, I'm out. I'm like, I'm done.
Wow.
I don't think I can do this.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, it's okay. We usually give students like a bit of a week to kind of decide if they're 100% down. But you fill out this form and we got you. So I remember going back home in my room, and my room is like, your exam should be starting now. And I'm like, I didn't take it. She's like, what do you mean? And I cried and I told her, and she was just like, okay, you need to get yourself together. And she's like my mom, she was very like straightforward. She's just like, okay, I know it's hard, but you need to get your shit together. And she's just like, and then as soon as I calm down, she's like, I will call my mother than you. And I was just like, oh my God. I think that's what scared me the most.
Yeah.
So the next day, it was a Thursday. The next day I went back to admin. I was like, actually, just tear that paper. Do not email anybody. I'm back in school.
Yeah.
So I had to resit the exam. But like, I feel like through those moments, I appreciated my strength too. I appreciated the people that worked with me too. Like even my roommate and all her threats and being there for me. There was a night she actually stayed up with me until 4.
Wow.
To watch me read and just keep me awake.
Yeah.
Play music, make tea, talk to me, just keep me awake because it was hard to stay awake all day.
That's really sweet.
Yeah, so I mean, it was not easy, but it was fun, and I enjoyed my university life. The craziest thing happened in 2015. I was coming home, and my layover was in Dubai for 36 hours.
Oh, wow.
Right? But Emirates has this thing where they put you up in a hotel.
Okay.
Because, what are you going to do in Dubai for 36 hours?
Yeah.
So, I'm sitting in the airport and like, don't worry, you'll get a transport from the hotel from the airport to the hotel. We cover everything. The van pulls up and like everyone who was on the flight pretty much was transiting. We all kind of knew because we had tags, and we're just walking towards the van. And who walks out of the van? Isaac, my ex.
Oh, what?
So this guy, in all the 195 countries in the world, shows up in Dubai at the same time, and he was actually working for the hotel that
was hosting
the Emirates layover, transiting, whatever.
Yeah.
And I froze. Like, I literally was like, this is a joke.
Yeah.
Like, no. This is stupid. So, someone behind me like knocked into me because I literally stopped abruptly, right? So it's like, and I'm just like, I'm so sorry. And she's like, are you okay? Are you okay? I'm just like, no, I'm not okay. So he sees me and he also feels, he's just like, oh my God, right? So we are both scared. Like, he doesn't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I was so nervous. And people are just like, let's go, because there was someone who was kind of taking us, like one of the air hosts. She's like, we need to go. And he sees me, like, he comes towards me and he grabs my bag. And that time I'm not even saying anything. I'm just seeing him. I'm shook. I'm just like, wow. So fast forward, get out of the van, getting into the hotel to check in. And he like literally stops me and he's just like, okay, hi. And I'm just like, hi. I'm just like, what? It's like, yeah, I work here. After I left that hotel, I came here and, just to kind of start out fresh as well. And I said, okay. And he was just like, can I take you out for dinner tomorrow? Like, in my head, I'm cursing him, I'm upset. All those feelings start coming up.
Yeah.
But I just said yes so easily and so fast. Wow. I was even more upset at myself.
Yeah.
And so,
how did that happen?
I don't even know. I think for me, it was just like, I want to know what's like. I had so many questions. I had questions more like, I wanted closure.
Yeah.
Because, I left.
True.
When I left the hotel that day, I had no explanation, never saw him again, didn't know what happened to him, I didn't know if he got arrested, you know what I mean? Like, I just didn't know what they did. So, the next day I was so nervous. I went around, the hotel. I went downtown. I got to see a few things, and I even went shopping because I was like, okay, I'll just buy, because like they keep your luggage for you, so you don't have to worry about taking. So I just had like my little suitcase. So it's like, okay, I'm just gonna look for something I can wear, and I was just like, I want to look my best. So I want to show this guy like,
that I'm doing
well without you, kind of thing. So anyway, we go for dinner, and I was just like, can we go to a public place? And I went somewhere that's literally don't throw away from the hotel. So when I'm ready to run, I can run to the hotel. And so we sat down and had dinner. And as we were sitting, I literally just looked at her and said, you know what? I forgive you.
Oh, wow.
And that's all I said. I just said, look, I forgive you, Isaac. I forgive you for what you did to me. I forgive you for how you made me feel. I forgive myself for allowing you to do what you did to me. And that's when I had my closure. And that's literally how I was able to get over him.
Yeah.
And whatever it is, I knew I can never explain how we ended up meeting each other in Dubai on the same day.
Yeah.
In like, what are the chances?
Yeah,
do you know what I
you're
mean?
about to start afresh.
Yeah, and I think that's when I started afresh.
Yeah,
in everything, literally.
Yeah.
And that was December 2015. So I remember now when I went home, I was just like,
what did he say anything that like helped?
Well, he just apologized.
Okay.
He literally didn't explain. He was still very cocky. You know, he just says like, I'm really sorry for how I treated you. You were one person I never wanted to let go, but and he was just like, when you disappeared and I didn't know what was going on, I got called by HR a day after, you didn't show up for your shift, and I was worried and stuff like that because I changed my number, but like he didn't really like make effort to.
So it was just more so you just like being able to look him in the face and be like,
and like, I am not afraid of you.
Yeah.
And even the fact that I was able to say yes and sit and have dinner with this guy in the middle of a new country that I've never known. I was like, look, I don't owe you anything. Yeah. And you don't owe me anything. But I owe myself this. I forgive you and myself for what you did to me. And it was just like, cool, peace, bye.
That's some strong shit.
And I have never, knock on wood, ever seen him again after that.
Yeah.
And I think that for me was just the beginning of now where I'm at today. Being able to now forgive myself, for the times I've put myself down. Because, when you get, bullied or when you get put down, you continue accepting those words in you. You're putting yourself down. And I think that's where I was like, you know what? No. Yeah. That's not it anymore. That's not how we're playing this game. And that's how I feel now. So I feel like that's how I've grown from that.
How are things now with you and your parents?
It's complicated even more. But my mom and I kind of like, we've been off and on. Unfortunately, this year, when I went back in after my graduation in November, we fell out again. She had very, very strange, how she would just accuse me of things, not even wait for me to talk.
So she's still kind of the same person.
Yeah,
she hasn't worked
She's
through
never
anything.
really grown. She's grown. I could tell the difference, but like, this is something that's not changing. And I think that's where I now have come to understand that she'll probably never change. I just have to change my attitude. And so I was home for 4 months, and unfortunately we fought again, and it was really bad. Like, it was one of those where I'm like, I don't know if I want to go back home to that. And so I moved around in Nairobi, like stayed with a few, like now with the auntie I lived with, and then like rented a place for myself as well for 2 months, for a month and a half. And we never spoke since that February. And we actually started speaking again a week ago. And that was like weird. I reached out because I was just like, the reason why I'm struggling to some extent with a few things here is because of what happened in Kenya. And I think like, I want you to know that it was not cool.
It's not cool.
Yeah, it's not cool. I feel like we are not, I'm 26 this year. Like, I cannot afford to be having the same fights we had almost 10 years ago, to be honest. We're still within the same circle. We're going like a dog chasing its tail. I don't know how to gauge it. I don't know if I should be like, things are okay now. One of the reasons why I moved to Vancouver is so I can join hot yoga classes. So I will be learning how to teach yoga this fall. So registered for school. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
cool.
Like actually go to school. Yeah.
Okay.
So there'll be a lot of like me going to like different places in the world, like India, Thailand, Greece, and just learn how
This is part of school?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And I'm super excited.
That's awesome.
So if September won't work out because I want to work, I might just go in January to April and just like, it's a 4-month part-time course.
Wow.
And you get to do all that.
Yeah.
So that's a newfound love.
Yeah.
So amongst all that craziness, I do, I'll be teaching classes part-time.
Yeah.
I will just be learning about myself, my strength, my body, just get myself into, that.
Yeah.
And then eventually I want to like start a hot yoga studio. Details coming soon.
Nice.
And I'm not telling you where.
Yeah, okay. Master plan.
Like master plan. But honestly, it's just I'm going with the flow.
Yeah.
I'm just taking one day at a time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Currently, I'm not working. You know, I've literally worked 1 month this year. Imagine.
Wow.
But I think it's been a blessing to learn about myself this time, and when I'm not busy, because I was working every so often.
I'm realizing I think a lot of people our age are in that space where they're exploring a bit more of, like, the other side of themselves, you know what I mean? And I think it's really important because I'm doing it for myself and I'm seeing how, like, I'm enjoying parts of it that I would have never found if I stuck to my job that I hated and stuff. So, like, So what about the future?
The future. Wow,
What does
that's
the future
a hard
hold?
question. Last year, I was very long-term thinking.
Okay.
Now, I'm starting to learn how to take one day at a time. I'm taking one day at a time, and literally, and it's just like I wake up in the morning, and before I used to plan my days, I used to be like, I still do kind of have that, fallback of I plan, and it's just only natural, and also for me, kind of gives me a content, kind of like, okay, I can get my life on track. So now, if I do this, I can get to this, and I found that a lot of my planning has blown up in flames, especially this year, because I thought I would be home for a month, but I ended up extending it for 5 for reasons that are hard to explain. But then I'm here and I'm not working. Again, reasons hard to explain. And then now, I don't know what's going to happen in the next few months, but I kind of have an idea of where I want to be. But for my future, like I told you, I know in the next year and a half, I will be starting my hot yoga studio. That's already on the business plan. That's just something that has gotten me psyched for, now. So the beginning would be now signing up for those classes and actually going for them, starting the classes so I can be certified to teach, and that's important. And then the rest will just kind of fall into place. I know I'm going back to work in August, so that for sure is a guarantee. And those kind of things, but like, I would say I used to be a long-term planner, but now I'm more in half and half. I think I was speaking to Adam, our friend, I interviewed him for this podcast as well, and we were talking about long-term versus short-term, and he said the exact same thing, where he was like, for him, he's reached a place where he's kind of like just taking things in bits, because he had his own struggles with university and stuff, and he found that planning long term always kind of didn't work very well. You kind of get disappointed a lot, because things, like, if they don't work out, and it's not like you make them not, it's just like life can happen, and you then you now start finding yourself beating yourself up, and I find that, and that's what calls easy for like depression or just being demotivated or feeling like you don't, so I'm pretty much just taking a day at a time.
If you were to have a conversation with the Noni from 2014, 15?
14 is when I came to
14.
Canada.
So the 2014 Noni, if you had a conversation with her, what are some of the things you'd tell her?
I would tell her to take one day at a time. Seriously. Yeah. Because I think one of the things I did a lot when I came is like I overwhelmed myself so much. I worked so much, and I'm not saying it in a way that's like, working is bad. No, I literally would I'd overwork myself. I had no time for myself. I was always sick every so often, and then and so I kind of like I never planned. I planned so ahead, and I felt like if I didn't do something now, I would miss out on that plan, and never lived in the moment, Another thing I would tell her is save. Save.
How does that work with you loving to travel? And
it works perfectly. Because I learned that traveling is not expensive, especially if you work it right. Like if you Pinterest it, Airbnb it, and book a flight in time, you can actually be able to do so much more for less. And an example would be when I went to Cuba in 2017. Bro, I spent $600 for 5 days. Accommodation, flight, food, drinks, everything included. That's Canadian dollars, ladies and gentlemen. Canadian dollars.
Yeah.
And so when I tell her to save, I tell her to save for a bigger picture. Not just to save so you can say you have money in your account, but to save to have a bigger picture in your life, like to be okay. Because, you know, I was not smart enough when I was working all those jobs, and I had no expenses, no rent, just my phone bill was... It's fairly easy to actually collect your monies in college, but I unfortunately did not, and I started doing it when I finished, and I'm so glad I did, because now when I was not working, that's all that kept me through. Literally has kept me through this year. And if I had started early, I'm not a what if person, but like I feel like I would have
gives me perspective.
So luckily I got that mindset really early. I mean, I got it just in time for this experience. But I would tell her to save, and I would save with a purpose. So it's either you save and have your money work for you, or save and just use it wisely. Another thing I think should have been number one: don't do anything to please people. And I think I struggled with that in Kenya, and I brought it here. And when I lived with my Nigerian roommates, again, still with my health issue of being... So now my hair had grown quite length, and it was natural. And a lot of the girls I lived with would be like, oh, your hair is nappy, you know, why do you have natural hair? You know, you should get a weave. And I ended up spending $500 on a weave.
Whoa.
Nyex.
What?
Till today, I pinch myself. Because I'm just like, what kind of silliness is that?
I mean, but the places that emotions can take you,
right? So I remember buying that. I was so cheesed. And that was on my 23rd birthday. It was like that weekend. So I bought my hair and I installed it. I mean, it looked good. I mean, we'll give it that.
If there's one thing Noni always gets right, it's the sledge. It's the sledge.
I'm just like, I mean, it worked with the theme. It was Insta-great.
Yeah, Insta-great.
I remember going home with that weave, and my mom picked me up from the airport. She's like, what's that mop on your head?
Wow.
I'm just like, this mop was $500. So let's start with like... So she was just like... I remember she lectured me. She was so upset, and I never understood where she was getting at. So she's like, I will cut that weave off.
Yikes.
I need it out within a day, right? So I was just like, I don't get it, right? So I remember I went to the salon and they're cutting, they're like, wow, this is such nice hair. And I'm just like, yeah, it's nice. But then I realized I was broke, I was struggling, I was just like living a life that I'd never put on a weave, I'd never seen the value on it.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm just like, why am I doing this? Just so I can please my roommates and they don't have to call me nappy hair girl anymore. But I went back to Canada and I sold them the weave for the $500 I bought. I said, you know what? You owe me for making me feel shitty about myself.
Your roommates? You sold it to your roommates?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we were all in competition. Like, we're always competing. So if my roommate bought like an iPhone 6 Plus, I would buy like an iPhone 6.
It got to that level?
It got to that level. It was that petty.
Yeah.
And I think I would tell Noni then, I would tell Noni then, do not do things to please other people. It is not worth it. You're wasting your time. I don't know if you watched this video. This drunk driver in Kenya on the streets, and he was it's a funny one, it's a meme, and he says, stop wasting your time, stop wasting your good time, because that's where you go wrong. So Noni, stop wasting your time, stop wasting your good time, because that's where you go wrong. I think that for me is just like, so those three things, like save, take a day at a time, and don't please other people. Because I am learning that now. Oh, another thing. Live your truth. Live your truth. I think even that's not just to the Noni then, it's the Noni now and the Nyex now and the Nyex then. Live your truth. I'm now learning to live my truth. If I can't do something, I'm not able to, and I tell the people. And I think it falls in line with the people pleasing. Being able to just live my truth. I'm like, I wake up and you know what? Today, I'm not able to afford to go out. I'm not going to go out. Today, I'm not able to, I want to, like, I feel like running. I'm gonna run. You know what I mean? Like I am no longer trying to just like live so other people can like me and be pleased, you know, with me. And like I was telling you how, you know, self-esteem, just growing. So living my truth has been my anthem for this year alone. Even when I was home, we would go out to places. People would take me out to expensive places, thinking just because I live abroad,
that's what
what I want. I'm like, nah, like that's not me. It wasn't me before I left. It's not me now. I mean, yes, sometimes I'll go to a place and I feel like treating myself, but when you're coming to a place where bills are turning into $100 investments, right? There we go. I'm just like, why? That's not me. And you have people who don't even, they can barely afford it, but they just want to do it to kind of a certain status.
You gotta do it for the gram.
Sometimes. But now my hashtag is live your truth.
I think that's really important.
It is, because even this trip this year, my first trip was Miami for my friend's birthday / wedding, and bro, do you know how much I spent?
How much?
$100.
Wow.
Only. My truth was $100, and
like that was your plane.
No.
That was like
that was my
there.
Cost there, because it's very expensive.
Yeah.
First and foremost, the transit was not as good because there's a lot of traffic and everyone can afford a car there. So it's either you drive or you Uber, and if you're really really into it, you transit. So obviously now I don't know where I'm going, so I had to Uber. USD and Canadian dollar, you feel the pinch.
So different, yep.
So not only is CIBC costing me the conversion, but they're also charging me an extra $3 for every purchase.
Yes,
right?
Yeah.
So I went through that. So Uber was expensive, and then the last night we went for dinner, very expensive dinner, and the menu, I'm just like, this is not gonna work. So I just ordered soup. And I remember the girls were looking at me like, Muthoni, are you okay? In fact, the waiter was like, so your starter? I said, no, main meal,
everything.
bring it when you bring their steak. Because this is not me. This is not my truth. This is...
How long were you in Miami for?
3 days.
Okay.
So, 3 nights, 4 days.
Okay.
And I was very truthful. I told my girl, like, look, first and foremost, I'm not working for the next 3 months. So even now that I'm coming, I'm only coming because I had promised you like way before, and like I bought tickets way before, but like now I'm not going to splurge. Like it's not something I'm going to so I was so impressed by myself. And we went to malls. I'm just like, hold me back. It was so funny, my reaction to everything. But I think so those are the things I would tell the Noni then. Live your truth. Save.
I mean, I second that for sure. I'm trying to live my truth. Thank you for coming today and sharing your own story and like your journey and your truth and what you're trying to do with the rest of your life. I think like whatever you've been through is already an entire life, but it's like you have so much more to go, obviously. And I think it's really encouraging to see how you've been able to push through a lot of the things you've pushed through, because Lord knows I don't think I could have been able to handle a lot of the shit you had to. And like I'm proud of you, like I'm happy for you, and welcome to Vancouver.
Thank you.
Or should I say welcome home?
Welcome home. Yes, that's more ideal.
But now I'm excited to see where all of us go, and I just think like as long as we all have our heads on straight and like have our priorities right and we live our truth, like you're saying, I think that's... I don't know what happens with this life stuff, but I think that's a good way to go. Based off of my small experiences, I think living your truth is probably the best place to start, for sure. I think. So I mean, all the best with everything.
Thank you.
Thank you again for making time for us to have this conversation. And there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. This has been the Represented podcast, and Noni is officially represented now. And thank you for joining us today. I definitely have learned a lot from Noni's journey. Thank you for listening, and peace.
Network.